Welcome in, everybody. It's Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Max Greenberg. What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Chad?
Doing well. Last episode of 2025.
We snuck it in. We're just at the 11th
We
hour.
did. We did sneak it in. The Preds, they are keeping us very, very interested, dare I say.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know all the tank job segment of the fan base is so upset right now. They got a lump of coal in their stockings this year because they don't like to see the Predators win. I'm sorry, guys, but the Predators are winning right now. I know they're not perfect. They have plenty of flaws. In fact, I put out a tweet right before we went live tonight saying that if we were breaking the NHL into tiers, I would put the Colorado Avalanche in a tier all by themselves.
Yeah.
And then I would put tier 2, a very select group of teams, very small group, but those teams are basically really good teams who could upset the Avalanche or in the Eastern Conference go to the Cup final, obviously. So I would say like teams like the Dallas Stars, obviously. The East is so wide open right now. But I would still put the Preds in that third tier, which is a bunch of mediocre teams who have a lot of flaws, but somebody has to make the wild card. Right. Somebody has to. Like, you get two, actually. So that's kind of going to be our discussion tonight is how legit are the Predators in terms of the Western Conference wild card race. Let me make that very clear. Not legit in terms of a Stanley Cup, but legit in terms of a very, very crowded and mediocre and log-jammed wild card race where, quite frankly, Max, nobody impresses me. But the Predators are actually building some serious chemistry. And that's going to really take us into another segment we're going to have tonight, which is which players have proven us wrong. And we can say one or two players, three players. I've got at least two.
I think we can think of one.
Oh, yeah. But let's save the suspense, Max. But I think even the listeners and the viewers here on YouTube can probably guess who our one player is going to be. But maybe there will be two or three other ones that we can name who have proven us wrong this year. I've got definitely a few who have proven me wrong, and I'll gladly say they have proven me wrong. But we've also got to get into this because Barry Trotz is in a very precarious situation where his team is actually winning now. But I've been really looking into the insiders and what they're saying out there about the Nashville Predators and their trade speculation because they've got a lot of free agents coming up. And so it's not like last season where they didn't have to deal with a lot of free agencies coming up. So they were kind of like, yeah, we'll just like be bad and not have to worry about trading a lot of people. This year, Trotz is in a situation where he has to balance out whether he wants to continue to be competitive, but also get his roster to be younger, which is what the organization has clearly stated they want to do. That's a very tight rope that Trotz is walking right now, and I do not envy him right now.
No, he certainly has. And it's a crazy to kind of illustrate your point, Chad, with where the Preds are. The Preds are 3 points out of a wild card spot, yet they are 4 points out of last in not just the Western Conference, but the whole league.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the standings on the.
That's especially tricky dealing with that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the standings on the screen right now for our YouTube viewers. Also, hit subscribe below. Sorry we've been absent lately, but the holidays happen, and also just life happens. But we're gonna try our best to get more consistent with our episodes in 2026. That's my New Year's resolution anyway. But because I love doing this podcast for all of you, and I appreciate everyone who supports this podcast. And I appreciate my awesome co-host here, Max, who helps make this podcast possible. But let's put the standings on the screen here, which is what Max just alluded to. And I mean, there you have it. The Eastern Conference is actually even more.
It's so tight knit.
But I mean, this is why we love hockey. So that's just the wild card race. Now, what's out of that picture for our viewers, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers already know this, is the top 3 of the Central Division is completely separated from everybody. I mean, so if you're a team like the Preds or any of these teams we're looking at right now on this screen that's in the Central Division anyway, you're playing for the wild card at this point. I mean, you're not going to catch, even though the Preds did beat Minnesota right before Christmas in a thrilling win.
Right. Yeah.
And they've also beaten the Colorado Avalanche this year. So, I mean, give them that. They've already played Colorado 3 times this year. They're done. If I'm remembering correctly, they don't have to play Colorado.
The NHL schedule matrix is such a cluster. I couldn't answer that question totally. Any other league, I could answer that question without.
I'm pretty sure they don't have to play Colorado again, and I'm also pretty sure that according to Dom's strength of schedule analytics, which Dom is, I think, a part of The Athletic, I want to say, he put the Predators as like the 5th or 6th easiest strength of schedule remaining. I did put it on my Twitter account, so you can go see that. I
Chad, let me
retweet it on the
one thing. The Preds play the Avalanche one more time this year.
Okay, they do. Okay, thank you
one
for
more time.
fact checking that one.
Yep.
But I do know I got to search back for that tweet real quick. But I know I retweeted it over the Christmas break. But yeah. Dom, with his strength of schedule standings projections, says that the Preds have one of the easier strength of schedules remaining. So there's that. But yeah, so there you see the standings, wild card standings, and the Preds, after their comeback win in the 3rd period against the Utah Mammoth, 4-3. That's a big win, though, and I circled that game, so I wrote an article for Predlines going into the Christmas break highlighting this road trip and how like 5 of these 7 games on this long road trip are against fellow wild card opponents, basically. And Utah, I mean, look, so Utah, the Preds beat Utah, but not only is that such a big win head-to-head, but Utah, the Preds have 2 games in hand on Utah on top of beating them just now. So that's like a really massive win to get there. And not only that, but to get greedy here a little bit. And I was thinking greedy watching this game, Max. I was thinking when the Preds went up 4-3 and Utah had that short 5-on-3 power play. You remember what I'm talking about there?
Oh, yeah.
Max?
Yeah.
And first of all, weak ass call on Perbix, cross-check call. I mean, he barely taps the guy. And
I can't remember, was that the first one or was that the one that actually led to the 5-on-3?
It led to the 5-on-3.
I was going to say, that was one where I wasn't so sure about.
No, it was already like towards the end of Brady Shea. So you're thinking of Brady Shea's tripping penalty.
No, we're on the same page. Like I'm thinking of the one that like led to the 5-on-3 with not much time left.
Yeah. So Brady Shea committed the initial penalty kill, which was a clear trip.
Right. Yes.
He lost track of his stick, and his stick got caught up in the guy's skates, and that's a clear tripping call. You got to call that. Yep. What I'm talking about is around 23, 25 seconds left, and the Brady Shea penalty. There's a scrum in front of UC Saros. He is doing UC Saros things, which is just saving the Predators, basically.
Right.
And big scrum in front of the net, and Perbix comes skating up behind a guy. I can't remember the Utah player, and kind of gives him a little love tap. Happens constantly in hockey. It's like holding in the NFL. You could call that, pick and choose when you want to call that. And I'm thinking, what made that referee call that weak ass call in that moment in the game when that crap, I won't say the other word, happens constantly in a game. And I was thinking at the time, this is a total way to lose for the Preds. This is how the Preds lose games right here. But I was also thinking in a very greedy fashion. Like, okay, they're going to give up this 5-on-3 power play. It's going to be 4-4, and we're going to go to overtime. And the Predators have been a very good overtime team, actually, this year. But I'm thinking greedy right now. I'm thinking I want to get all 2 points on Utah. I don't want to even give them a point. So that's kind of where I was thinking. I was getting greedy there. But like we've said all year, the Predators' penalty kill is it's kind of like their rallying call right now.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, special teams are kind of hard to keep track of, but like it feels like it's been kind of on and off. Like we gave up a power play goal in St. Louis on Saturday, and we gave up one last night too. Feel like the power play has been doing better, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's been up and down for sure, and no one's going to accuse this Preds team of being totally consistent. But like they're up and down. It's a roller coaster of an NHL season. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that Utah game. But also, the Predators are like what I was alluding to earlier. The Predators are in this tightrope situation right now, especially going into January and getting closer and closer to that trade deadline. Basically, a little over 2 months away from that is the Predators have all these free agents. And not just free agents, but high-valued, suddenly veterans who the Predators might want to move away from. Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, those are 3 right there. They're not due to be free agents, but they're all in the trade rumors right now, all 3 of them. For different reasons. And then that's not even counting the actual pending free agents this coming up off season. So this team, despite them winning and they're building chemistry and they look like they're having a lot of fun out there, this team's about to change a lot. How much is that resting on Barry Trotz's mind right now? And as much as we want to rip this thing apart, and they should to a certain extent, but we're going to really talk about it throughout this episode. With this recent winning, do we have to at least reassess how Trotz does this?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, one kind of to say what you said, and and obviously it's 2 months over 2 months in advance, so we don't know what's going to happen yet. But one way or another, the Preds have to make a decision on these guys. At least with Bunting and Hall, I very much prefer they trade them. Nick Blankenberg's one was a little more up in the air. Do you trade? Do you sign? But you have to have either traded these guys or sign them to something by the deadline. The worst case scenario is you cannot let them walk for nothing. That's like the only teams that can afford to do that are the teams like Colorado, who are unquestionably contending for a cup. They can afford to throw all caution to win because their time to win is now. Same with other teams like Dallas, Carolina, those teams. Preds are not in that status. So no matter what they do, they cannot let free, especially valuable ones, go to the open market for nothing.
But you have a lot of players you have to deal with right now. Not just free agents, but like I said, those other 3 guys. We're going to get into that deep. Also, the rest of the road trip we're going to preview. Can the Predators keep finding ways to win and stay in this wildcard race? We're not even officially at the midway point yet. So, no. I mean, it can come crashing down just as fast as it can go up. That's kind of where we're at right now. It's wild to think where we're at right now. Like, I mean, it can – you're 1-3 – I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but you're 1 4-game losing streak away from being right back at the bottom again. Yep. But you're also if you can keep this momentum going, and especially on this road trip, playing head-to-head, you got Calgary coming up here soon. You got Vegas up next tomorrow. You're going to play Calgary head-to-head. That's another team that's in this wild card race that you can kind of like – you got to beat these wild card hopeful teams. That's really what's most important. in this road trip if you really want to stay in this wild card race. Keep winning these head-to-head games against these other bubble teams. And I kind of like talked about this after the Minnesota win going into the Christmas break. But also Nick Saban, this is how long it's been since we've had an episode. Nick Saban, yes, the Alabama legendary football
Nick
coach.
Saban.
Yes, that Nick Saban is a minority owner of the Preds. I don't know his hockey knowledge. But I do know that he's always taken a liking to the Predators. There's been images of him wearing Preds gear in the past. So it's not so much a surprise that he's fond of the Predators because we've actually seen him in Preds gear before. But the fact that he's a minority owner is pretty cool. They've had a press conference for him. And the reason why I think this is significant, and we will talk about it more, is he's not just some random minority owner who's just looking to make a buck. No, this guy is ultra competitive. We don't know his hockey knowledge, but it doesn't matter because he has a winning pedigree. And I'm sure
he knows how to build culture.
Exactly. And I'm sure he will do I'm sure he's not buying a minority stake in this franchise to lose.
Exactly.
That's not Nick Saban. So That's fun to see. We'll see. It gives me a really good, you're going to call me crazy, but that gave me a kind of like a little bit of a positive. I wouldn't call it a major spike, but it definitely gave me a little bit of a boost.
I agree completely.
My long-term outlook of this franchise. I know he's a college football legend and not a hockey legend. I get that. But winning culture, like Max just said, tends to be kind of contagious. And so that's fun to see. And then we're going to round it out with Titans time. We haven't done Titans time in a while. And kind of like the Preds, the Titans are also showing a pulse lately. So I can't wait to get Max's thoughts on how the Tennessee Titans are rounding out their season and the development of Cam Ward and the development of this roster and all of that stuff. So that'll be fun. So that is what we got in store for you. We are presented by DraftKings and the Pick Six app, which we will tell you about later. We are part of the Hockey Podcast Network. And if you're watching on YouTube, throw us a comment, hit subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook as well, hit the follow button and comment. We welcome everyone to join our episodes live. We love hearing from you. And so, you see it on the bottom of the screen there, 4-3, the final score. The Predators were trailing 3-2 in this game. They never led in this game until they took that 4-3 lead. And Steven Stamkos decided to just, keep scoring goals. And what I really want to say is, and I saw this even before this game, and I know other people have been noticing this as well, the chemistry between two proven pedigree veterans in this league, Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos. It's like these two guys are playing in the backyard on the frozen pond, and everyone else is watching. It is so fun to watch these guys play together. And I want to give all the love to Steven Stamkos because he's the one scoring the goals. But at the same time, Ryan O'Reilly is so much our MVP. This guy just breeds excellence. He's so self-accountable. You remember when this team was in the mud and he was calling himself out? He didn't have to do that. Ryan O'Reilly, a guy of Ryan O'Reilly's stature, a Conn Smythe winner, are you kidding me? And he had the audacity to call himself out and say, I am basically playing like shit. He just embodies someone that you will run into a brick wall for, that you will run into battle for. And I know Steven Stamkos is also in that same ilk. He's got way higher career stats than Ryan O'Reilly. And I'm not taking anything away from Stamkos, but that pass that O'Reilly made to Stamkos to tie it at 3. I mean,
I thought the one to set up the fourth goal was better.
No, they were both great, but I'm just saying, like, for some
That's
reason
my
I was
point. Like
watching.
how great they both were.
I mean, he knew what he was doing, but what was beautiful about it is Stamkos also knew what Ryan O'Reilly was doing.
Yep.
When you have two seasoned veterans like that working off each other, and Stamkos flashed into the slot, and it was just like, yeah, I know you're going to be there. O'Reilly knew he was going to be there. It was beautiful. I mean, this team's special right now. They're building chemistry, and they've been saying this all year long. We wish it would have came sooner. Like, we're not happy about how long it took to get us to this point. But I mean, Max, I guess kind of expand on that. Like, do you feel like this is just setting us up for a downfall, or do you think there's something to this?
It's hard for me to say at this point, honestly. I mean, this has been going on since the end of November, so it's really hard to say it's a fluke. They got something going now.
You can't call it a fluke.
No. My question, I guess, is how long it lasts. Because again, I still in the back of my mind am being okay. You got a bunch of these guys who are well in their 30s. I don't know, just how, how much they have left in the tank. I guess I got some, doubts in my mind on that. But, right now they're playing well. And, one other guy I want to talk about too, and I know he's a young guy, but Luke Evangelista is still playing really well. He scored a goal last night.
We can't overlook Luke Evangelista. He's just killing it right now.
That's one thing I very much think is continue going. Here's one thing I will say, though. What I will say, one guy who you expect consistency out of, who's had an up and down season, even through this winning streak, is Filip Forsberg. What happens when, because that at some point he's going to go on, like he's flashed it a few times here, never really put it together. What happens once he really goes on a heater?
Well, I think what's beautiful about what's happening right now is Filip Forsberg's not having to do it all on his own.
Right.
I mean, it's not like his stats are a scrub. It's not like he's just completely invisible, but he's also not having to go into beast mode right now. And it's because, I think that's why I think the Predators can actually stick around maybe in this diluted. I keep calling it diluted. That's kind of the term I've adopted in this Western Conference playoff race is diluted. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Preds. I'm not trying to be this like negative person, but I'm just calling it like it is. It's diluted in the sense that, yeah, two teams have to get a wild card. It's required. So it's like, yes, the Predators can be. And I wrote about this like 3 weeks ago. So really for me, it's not really that new of a development, honestly. They were 5 points out a few weeks ago when I wrote about this. So they've been in this bubble for a while now, actually, a few weeks. And my concern was, when the sample size was a lot smaller, I was thinking, can they actually keep winning? And not only winning, can they actually beat some decent quality teams? Well, that Minnesota win was super quality. Yes. Going into the Christmas break, they could have easily let that game. That could have been a letdown game. Nobody would have blamed the Preds. Guess what? The next day, if the Preds lose to the Wild, no one's writing about it. No one's upset about it. Everyone's saying, oh, yes, the Wild, they're way better than the Predators. No harm, no foul. But the Predators beat them. They've beaten the Avalanche recently. They've beaten some decent Eastern Conference teams, which everyone agrees the Eastern Conference is way more balanced, top to bottom. Okay, they beat the Rangers recently. I'm just going off the top of my head. The Hurricanes have their number. They lost twice to the Hurricanes recently. But my point is, like, the Preds are actually beating some quality teams. I still consider Utah a quality team who is just playing way under their expectations. And I kept waiting for the Mammoth to just like erupt last night. because they had plenty of chances. And
I
UC Saros once again made some clutch saves down the stretch.
Yeah.
A 1.38 GSA last night, Max. So that's something that so the Mammoths scored 3 goals, but they should have had over 4 goals according to Money Puck. So give another steal to UC Saros.
Yeah. No, he's playing well. I think through this streak, I think a lot of concerns people had about UC Saros are through. He kind of it's sort of been a roller coaster for Saros this year, where he had he had some good games start the year, kind of tailed off late November, late October, most of November, excuse me. But then ever since going on that stretch we've had since end November, he's been really good, and I do think he's ultimately he might be the biggest reason why the Preds won last night. I didn't think the Preds ultimately were the better team in that game, although they dug deep and they found a way. A lot of it has to do with the team persevering, Riley, Stamkos combining for those goals, gaining momentum, all that, even when they didn't play the best hockey. But of course, you don't win those games without great showing from your goaltender, and UC Saros gave the Preds that.
We're looking at the point leaders right now on Hockey Reference for the Preds. To Max's point earlier, Evangelista is third on the team right now. 21 assists for Evangelista. The dude is an engine. I keep calling him the engine of this team. And I keep waiting for Evangelista's goals to eventually come. I'm very, very confident in that prognostication. Look at his point percentage. Evangelista's point percentage is a 6.9%. That is super low for a player like him. For a winger to have that low of a point percentage, shooting percentage, you look for that to balance out. So he's already posting all these.
Where are you seeing that?
Right here, the cursor.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Wow. Okay, I didn't even notice that. I really didn't know that.
Right under the cursor. That is super low for a winger. That's like doesn't make sense, honestly. Like, I'm not saying that it's all bad luck. He could probably be better with some of his shots. But 6.9% super low for, a defenseman, you're used to seeing a lower percentage because they're firing from the blue line and stuff. But Ryan O'Reilly is leading the team in points right now at age 34. That's pretty impressive. He keeps finding ways to beat Father Time. But Forsberg is still second on the team in points with 30. Evangelista is at 27. Stamkos is at 25 with a really, really slow start. People don't realize that early in the season, we were I can't remember exactly how many games we were in. I know Willie Donick referenced it in the game last night during the broadcast, but for a long time, Stamkos only had 1 goal and 1 assist.
I think it was 11 games. It was maybe a little more. If I remember at one point, 11 in, and he had a goal and an assist.
Yeah, and he's just went on a ridiculous streak here. 17 goals now in the season, which leads the Preds. 8 assists, 25 points. 7 game-winning goals. I saw a tweet from Max Hertz and also a few other people that if he only needs 1 more game-winning goal to set the NHL record all time for most game-winning goals in a month.
That's great. So I didn't realize he had 7 game-winning goals. Wow.
But if he gets a game-winning goal against Vegas tomorrow, he'll set the NHL record. So there's that. But the guy is showing up in moments where you need him. And we're going to talk more about Stamkos when we get into the trade segment because it's very spicy and it's very interesting. But Eric Hall is down here. Eric Hall is 5th on the team in points. That's a little crazy.
It'll depend on how Trotz deals with them. The Bunting and Hall acquisitions are looking like nice little nifty acquisitions, honestly.
Especially if he can flip them.
That's what I'm saying.
Expect him to do.
That's what I'm saying. Depends on what Trotz does, because if he extends it to some gaudy price or just completely undersells them, then it's what are you doing?
Like you said, if he can fleece somebody, fleece a GM, then suddenly Trotz is going to get – Trotz doesn't have a lot of wins under his belt right now.
No.
He needs some wins. He needs some wins under his belt. And he's got an opportunity to possibly do that with this trade season coming up here.
One of my biggest complaints about Trotz so far as GM has been the overall asset management. But you got an opportunity with Bunting and Halla to make some moves that can really maximize your asset management.
He's got a lot of opportunities. And then we go further down the list. Marchessault's been injured for the past few games. He didn't skate today. Brooks Bratton reported that in the practice skating today to get ready for Vegas, Marchessault was not there. I'm not saying that has anything to do with his trade status.
Really?
What I'm saying, he didn't skate today.
That's concerning because yesterday and Saturday they were saying he was skating looking good. Did he have a setback? Maybe.
Let me pull up the tweet.
That would suck. I didn't even see the tweet from Max Hertz. Let me look at that.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it says it right here. Good afternoon. This is from Brooks Bratton. Good afternoon from fabulous Las Vegas. One final practice for the Preds in 2025 ahead of tomorrow's afternoon tilt against the Golden Knights. Jonathan Marchessault, lower body day-to-day, is not skating.
And he was – let me look at what he said yesterday. He even said yesterday – let me look back and see.
And also, as I take this off the screen, these points here – for the Preds. It's also been made pretty clear that Marchessault has some blue bloods that might be interested in him, including the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens, which he's always been linked to the Canadiens.
Well, that's where he's from. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't realize that. I saw the tweet that he wasn't skating, but like everything I've thought I saw up to this point was that he was getting close. So I really hope he didn't have a setback of some sort.
Let's say hi to Johnny real quick. Goes by Predemption on YouTube. Check out his YouTube channel. He does his fan reaction episodes after every game. The guy is relentless.
He is, man. He really is.
Got to respect the hustle. He does a great job. And he says, stopping in briefly to say hi. I have company, but wanted to say Merry Christmas, Chad. Happy Hanukkah. Max.
Thank you, Johnny.
Johnny, I really hope you had a really great holiday season with your family. And to all of our listeners and friends, we really hope that you've been spending it with the people that mean a lot to you, and it's been fun, and we appreciate all of you. And then also, Johnny says Utah's number one was out, but otherwise they had their top guys in the lineup. Props to the Preds for the W. Yep. Another really impressive resume building win for the Preds, for sure. And they got to keep doing it. Obviously you can't let go now, but what were we getting into? Oh yeah. Marchessault. We were talking about Marchessault. I think this is going to really kind of take us into our next segment here. Yep. Which is who has proven us wrong on this team. And we are prefacing this by saying, going into the season, which players on this team to this point has proven us wrong. This is this is me and Max's opportunity to show some humility, to say we were wrong on this player. Like this player, and I know the easy answer is Steven Stamkos. And I guess I can kind of say I've been kind of maybe wrong, but I'm wrong about other players. So there's other players I was wrong about, but I don't know if I'm going to call myself out on Stamkos. I remember going into the season clearly stating, I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to work out, but I remember clearly stating that, and you guys can fact check me on it. Go back and listen to previous episodes. Go read all my stuff. I'd really appreciate that. But I remember clearly saying, I think Stamkos is going to take the mentor role with this team. He's going to be much more comfortable. He's going to find a spot on his team. And my belief was that he was going to play on a younger line, possibly with Evangelista, possibly with Svechkov.
Which he's not currently doing.
Well, if you look at the money puck line combinations, Stamkos has been everywhere.
They are right about that.
Literally, it's a Johnny Cash song. I've been everywhere, man. He's literally has. Stamkos has been everywhere up and down this lineup. Brunette has put him everywhere. And I will actually pull it up because actually when I was looking at it yesterday and I want to get the exact line totals on who he's played with the most. But my point about Stamkos is I've kind of been proven wrong because I didn't exactly know how much of an impact he was going to be. But and he started off so slow that I will admit that I was wrong about the way he started the season. I jumped off the Stamkos bandwagon. I think anybody would have.
Well,
when he had 1 goal, 1 assist, I jumped off the Stamkos bandwagon, and I shouldn't have jumped off. I should have stayed on. So I will say that.
Well, I will say I was pretty much long gone by then. As you guys remember, I wrote the article saying that it was about time to buy him out. I was gone.
Yeah, I mean,
but I will say this
alone.
Though. I'll say I was more wrong on Stamkos in New York. If you remember, back in August I wrote a Predlines article talking about the showcase forwards on this team like Forsberg, Marchessault, O'Reilly, Stamkos, yada yada. Talking about, and the point of the article was, which guys have the best chance of bouncing back. Stamkos was one of the ones I said I really didn't think would. And another opportunity for me to say I was wrong about a guy, I thought Ryan O'Reilly had peaked. I really did. I thought Ryan O'Reilly would never get back to, being
I appreciate the honesty.
And he's really having the best year he's had in his 30s, at least underlying, just analytically at least.
Yeah, so I went and found it here. These are the most minutes for the forward lines, according to Money Puck. They've been played together.
I love that for Evangelista, even though he's not on that top line currently.
He's not currently playing up there, but almost 171 minutes that Evangelista has gotten up there. That was always kind of my that's what I envisioned for Evangelista. Was if you're going to actually give Evangelista a chance to prove himself, you've got to actually put him in situations where he can do it. And so look at what's happened. You put him in favorable situations, and his confidence is way up there. His skating, his two-way game. He is actually playing really good hockey on the defensive end.
I've noticed him a few times, yeah.
So Evangelista, A+ for me. I mean, and he can only go up from here.
He's surely having about as good of a year as I could have ever asked for.
You're being unreal. You're being completely unrealistic.
No, I thought a little bit of an let me go back and look and see the point pace he's at right now. I mean, he has. And I know points aren't everything, of course.
They aren't everything, but they're still a good indicator.
He has 27 points in 37 games. Let me do some math here. Hold on 1 second. Times 82. Luke Evangelista is on pace for 59 points. I could not ask for more than that.
I think I remember us talking about this, Max, where you said over 50 points, and you're going to be extremely happy.
I would have been ecstatic with anything in the 45, 50 range. I was going to be happy with.
So going through the Money Puck forward lines that have played the most time together, and we got this on the screen, but let's give it for our listeners here who aren't watching right now on YouTube so we can let them know what's going on here on the screen. Forsberg, O'Reilly, and Evangelista have actually played the most time together among the forward lines. And as we know, the forward line combinations get jumbled up and changed throughout the season. So it doesn't mean that's what it's like now, but 171 minutes, that's a very, very healthy lead to the next most played together line, which is Bunting, Holla, and Marchessault. Max, I just thought about something here, man.
Okay.
That entire So the second most played together line might be gone in the next 2 months.
That's so true.
Bunting. Is that crazy?
I mean, you're right. They very well. I mean, at least 2 of them is likely to happen.
That just came to me looking at it. Like all
You-
3 of
you're-
them.
you're not
Although
wrong.
Max, you have talked about the possibility that Bunting could be retained.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, like, no offense to Bunting himself. I don't particularly want that, but I could see it happening.
Let's say hi to Joel real quick. Joel's a good friend of the show. He says, Happy New Year's, guys. The thing about Stamkos right now is that he's reinvented his game. He's going to the net more than I ever remember. Yes, and also one of the GOAT covers of the Preds media is Adam Vinian, and he has been putting out some banger tweets lately regarding this exact topic. And I retweeted one of the things that Adam Vinian said about this exact topic that Joel just put out here. And that is, let me find it real quick. Let's see. Adam Vinian. Yeah. And if I can find it, we have so many things going on the screen right now, but I'll try to find it. But Adam Vinian put this out today, actually, this morning. Steven Stamkos is on the doorstep of 600 career goals, and he has done it by reinventing his game over the past month. And Vinian has a graphic on here talking about Stamkos's inner slot shots on net, which is 22 slot shots on net, which is what I just talked about. That was a goal that he did last night against Utah to tie the game. He flashed into the slot. O'Reilly found him, put the puck on the tape, as they say, and Stamkos. When he put the puck on the tape of Stamkos's stick in that spot as a future Hall of Famer who has scored up to almost nearly now 600 career goals, he's going to score a lot of times. So that O'Reilly Stamkos connection, I can't imagine Trotz wants to break that up right now with this team in the playoff race.
Absolutely not.
That's just, I know you guys want to trade Stamkos so bad, but I don't know. I think Trotz is losing sleep at night right now, thinking, do I really want to break up that duo right now as long as this team is in the playoff race?
One thing I've thought about, and I haven't really publicized it, but kind of like I know we're kind of talking about Stamkos, but around O'Reilly, because there's been plenty of talk about potentially trading him too. I have not always been totally on board. I've kind of gone back and forth on, trading O'Reilly this year, because on one hand, you could get a great return. And granted, I did put some out on Twitter saying how it'd be kind of dumb for Trotz to pass on it now. And, I ultimately, that's where I still, lean. I still lean toward it being the best idea to ultimately trade O'Reilly this year. But at the same time, I mean, and I know you're building for the future, but how much do you really want to just completely tank your center depth? I mean, O'Reilly's here for one more year. Some of your guys could learn from him. It really is a tricky situation here, because the center, partly because the center depth is so thin on this team.
If you have to choose, here's where I'm at with it. If you have to choose between trading O'Reilly right now or Stamkos, and you have to pick one or the other to trade, and you keep the other one, it's a really tough call with the way this team's playing right now. And we don't have to make this decision right now, but let's just say hypothetically, this team continues to be within reach of the wild card as the trade deadline is like within a couple weeks. Let's just say that. Who do you trade first? Or do you trade both of them? I mean, it's such a tough call. It really is. I mean, of course it depends on what I mean, if a GM is willing to way overpay for Stamkos or O'Reilly, then of course you take it. I'm not
gun to my head at this very moment, I would say probably O'Reilly, just because what you can get for him over Stamkos, I would think.
Oh, for sure, O'Reilly's our top trade chip right now.
Yeah, that's probably more Island. It's hard.
You know how many teams are salivating right now to get Ryan O'Reilly?
And to add to that, Philip Deneau, who just got traded from LA to Montreal, and he fetched a pretty decent return. So that's good news for the Preds if they want to trade O'Reilly.
Let's get and also I got to imagine that there's a lot of Eastern Conference teams right now because that race is so
New Jersey.
It's even more clogged up than the West is right now. Like the Eastern Conference is like last place to even.
Wait, that's something I just wanted to say. Wait a second. So to give you an idea of how crazy the difference between the West and Eastern Conference are, the Western Conference, the difference between first and last place is 31 points. In the East, it's 11.
Yeah.
That's insane. I don't think I've followed the league for 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen it like that much of a disparity in between
first to last place in the Eastern. We're not talking about first. We're talking about like first place in the entire conference.
Yes.
To last place is 11 points.
That's crazy.
Way different than when we're talking about the Western Conference. We're talking about the wild card race is very clogged up. But the Eastern Conference is actually like clogged up in the entire conference.
Yeah.
From first to last.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. Let's continue this segment though here about who we've been wrong about. Also, real quick, I did want to finish that list real quick. We were talking about it. So forward lines who played the most time together. Forsberg, O'Reilly, and Evangelista by far have played the most time. Basically 171 minutes. Then you get Bunting, Haula, Marchessault, which all three of them could possibly be traded in the next month or two.
That's crazy. That was a great thing you pointed out.
Third most played together line is Forsberg, O'Reilly, Stamkos. But I guess what made me even pull up this list to begin with is how much Stamkos has moved around this lineup. And, so I had it set at minimum 50 minutes. Let's put it down to where there's no minimum. And you'll really see, I don't have it on the screen anymore, but I am looking at it here. Stamkos has been moved around all over this lineup. He's played with all different types of line combinations. He's most played with O'Reilly and Forsberg, almost 92 minutes. But he's also played with Haula and Marchessault. He's played with O'Reilly and Evangelista, which is what I prefer. I really want Stamkos to play with Evangelista as much as possible. That's just me. But I get that you can't always do that. But he's played with Svechkov and Wood, so he has played on that young line, but it's been very brief. It seems to me like Brunette really wants to keep Stamkos with O'Reilly as long as he can.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either until these trades come up. But let's continue with who we've been wrong about. I've got a guy I was completely wrong about. Guilty as charged. Hammer me at the stake. I'm sorry, I was wrong, and that's Erik Haula. I hated that trade. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me. The guy's got 5 goals, 15 assists, 20 points. He's 5th on the team in points. He's actually contributed on the power play for 6 power play assists and 2 power play goals. I was completely wrong. I apologize to Erik Haula.
That was also another one I was going to bring up. I'm not going to go be quite as guilty on that one, though, because I remember before the season started, I wrote the Pred Lines article previewing Erik Haula's season. And once I was writing that article, that's where I kind of came around to that trade a little more. Up to that point, I hated the trade. But once I started to write that article, I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And it kind of turns out there is, although I didn't expect it quite to be this good. Erik Haula, right, like I said, it's been a nifty little acquisition. Again, if you can do well with him at the deadline, that's a nice move for Barry Trotz.
I like the term you use there, nifty.
Yeah.
Because you can flip him right now, like flipping a house. Like you can flip Erik Haula right now. And that we would expect that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying you're going to get a king's ransom in return for him, but flip him for a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, maybe. Like I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's been very valuable to this team, I must say. And
I'll say I would hope you probably get more than a 4th because that's what we traded to get him.
Okay.
Yeah.
True. So like I said, 3rd or 4th, 2nd maybe.
Yeah.
But my point is maybe get a prospect that you like. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get multiple draft picks. Is my point. We don't really know.
Even if you turn out to like a fourth and a prospect, that's a net gain. So
that's what I'm saying. A net gain is what
yes.
Yes. So it's all about flipping the pick. And also, Holla has actually done some good for your organization while you've had him. Yeah. So my worry when they traded for him was that he was washed up and he wasn't going to really do anything for you while he was here. I didn't think he was going to be like a total, like he's had a great career. So I didn't think he was just going to be a total like bust and just awful. But I just didn't see the vision in the trade. I didn't understand it completely. I thought he was going to just log jam the roster that's trying to get younger.
I thought he was like going to be excess goods.
But I've been wrong. I mean, you can't argue against 20 points from a guy at this point in his career. I mean, I did the math on it the other day when I was kind of talking about this topic. And I mean, I'm not saying he's going to keep up this pace, but he's kind of on pace to have one of his better seasons in quite a long time. So just going off points, 20 points in 38 games. He had 54 points in 2023-24, which he's kind of on pace to do that if he were to
in 2023
keep up his pace.
I saw 35 in 23-24.
Oh, I'm looking at penalty minutes. I'm sorry. I was in the wrong. I was in the I was in the wrong column. I'm sorry. I saw 54 penalty minutes. Okay, so that threw me off when I saw that. Actually. I was like, what?
Big point wise, if he kept this up, it'll be one of his better years he's had in a while.
His best season in points was way back in 2017-18 with Vegas. He had 55 points.
Yes.
Other than that, he had 44 points in 2021-22, which he's kind of on pace to do that right now. No one's saying he's going to keep up that pace. My point is, I've been totally wrong about him, and I'm glad to admit that. Let's see. Any other players I've been wrong about? I guess I can kind of say that I was wrong about I guess I can kind of say I was also wrong about Evangelista. I was nervous about Evangelista living up to the pressure of this. I didn't like the optics of the contract holdout, even though he was probably in the right to bet on himself. I wasn't necessarily mad at him for doing that, but I was kind of skeptical about how this was going to affect his season, especially the start of the season. I was worried that missing training camp was going to be the detriment of him because he really had to figure out who he was going to play with and all that. So I've always been a believer in Evangelista. Like, I've always pushed back on the critics, but I will call myself out and say that I was kind of wrong on him being this good. I didn't think he was going to look this good, this fast coming out of that contract holdout. I thought he was going to have some growing pains, and we still have a lot of season left where he could go through a slump and maybe it evens out a little bit. But the way he's playing right now, Max, and he's got that eye of the tiger to him right now.
Oh, yeah.
I would be extremely shocked if he goes through a prolonged slump. He might have a few games where he cools off, but the guy is seeing the game in such a different way. He's a pleasure to watch right now. And so he's another player where I can say I was definitely underestimated him and I was wrong about him.
I will say with Evangelista, I'm not going to say I was quite wrong because I still thought that this was going to be one of those years that he took a step forward. I didn't think it'd be quite like this, but I did think that this would be a year, at least it had to be a year that we saw some real progression from Evangelista, and we absolutely have. So that's great. I'm going to go to one other player. I'm going to be slightly annoying, and Chad might know where I'm going with it. Not that I was wrong, but where I think the rest of the fan base didn't necessarily admit where I was right. Nick Blankenberg's having a good year. He got a point last night. He's contributed when he's in. I mean, and it feels like, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Chad, it feels like every game Blankenberg's had like a timely defensive play.
Oh, dude. He's another player that it's going to be hard to figure out whether you trade him or extend him.
Well, you can bet I'll have plenty more to say about that before the deadline. I have a lot to talk about with Nick Blankenberg. He's my guy. I've made Nick Blankenberg my guy here.
He entered the season as a possible fringe starter.
Yeah.
We never thought he was going to be waived, but definitely like a in and out guy. And now he's played so well that you can't ever take him out unless he's hurt.
Right. Yeah.
And I
And
love Nick Blankenberg. I love his game.
I said the guy deserved it. He absolutely deserves it.
So wait, are you saying you were wrong about him? You're supposed to be saying players you were wrong about.
No, I took the conversation another turn, talking about how I was right about this one. Everyone else should have seen that I was right here. I decided to be a little annoying here and say how Nick Blankenberg.
Wait, so you weren't wrong about let's say were you wrong about Justin Barron, maybe? That's a joke.
It's hard to say. I mean, he hasn't played in the past month.
I know, it was a joke. Brady Shea, I'm still, yeah. I mean, I think he has played a little better than last year.
It's not worth $7 million a year.
No, but I think he's been a little better. Nick Hague. I mean, I like Nick Hague's muscle. He's doing what we expected him to do. Let's say that about Nick Hague.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I think he's had a few offensive moments this year, but he's also had some defensive moments that have been rough.
Yeah.
Like one of the that, and I can't quite tell you who was on, as I can only tell from watching, but the goal that ended up being the game-winning goal for St. Louis the other night, it looked like Blankenberg was just lost on that. Like it seemed like he was the one who had like the coverage in front of the goal. Like Blankenberg was in his spot, and Hague it felt like he blew it. Like it kind of felt like he was the reason why Pavel Buchnevich was left alone there. I mean, if someone thinks I'm wrong, please let me know. But looking at that, and I looked at it a few times, I thought that was on Nick Hague.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, though, when I look up and down this roster, I mean, I think a lot of the players have actually kind of played where we expect him to be. I mean, of course, you can't overlook Matthew Wood, who is on the rookie list right now, top 10 in terms of
something a little bit. That's actually one thing I want to say here. Matthew Wood during this during I feel like this streak of time through November, December, he's been something a little bit, but I want to talk about. I encourage fans to not panic too much there, because at the end of the day, what we've gotten from Matthew Wood, I should say, excuse me, we've gotten about as much from Matthew Wood as we could have asked. And at some point he's going to pick it up again. So I wouldn't be too worried yet. He's a rookie. He's going to go through these. Let him ride the ebbs and flows is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So that's our segment on who we've been wrong about. I mean, Steven Stamkos, I think, is the easy choice for most of the fan base, if you're being honest with yourself. But for me, it was Eric Holla was my easiest choice for myself, and also Luke Evangelista for me. But let's also tell you about our DraftKings Pick 6 offer right now. And the holidays are heating up on Pick 6. We're not quite. New Year's Eve is tomorrow, everybody. So the holidays are running out, but they're still heating up on the Pick 6 app on DraftKings. DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Make your NBA picks for a shot to win big cash prizes this holiday season. Here's how it works. Just choose more or less on 2 or more player stats. The more accurate your picks, the bigger your payout. It's the kind of upside you'll only find on Pick 6, not those other pick'em sites. And it's available in most states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and more. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. New DraftKings customers can play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits with code THPN. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos, and it's a limited time offer. So go take advantage of that now, as 2025 is coming to an end. So let's get into our next topic here on episode 285 of Catfish on Ice, and that is this trade buzz that the Predators continue to be in the middle of. You're seeing a lot of the insiders talk about it. I'm going to put some of these tweets on the screen. Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic has actually been really talking a lot about the Preds recently. Also, the 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliot Friedman also was talking about Ryan O'Reilly recently. But let's first talk about, if we're going to get into the segment, let's go player by player so that we don't go off on these tangents. We keep it a little more organized. And let's talk about a player that, Max, I have been very clear about that I think is one of the easiest players to move on from. If you're trying to move away from that free agency splash from 2024, I've always said that Jonathan Marchessault is the easiest player to move on from out of those players. For one, I feel like I've always felt like he's the player that's probably the most willing to waive his no trade clause and say, you know what, no harm, no foul. It didn't work out. So long. Nice to see you in Nashville. Thanks for the laughs, but I got to get out of here. That's kind of what I see with Jonathan Marchessault. So let me put this on the screen real quick. But Max, what are your thoughts about Jonathan Marchessault first when it comes to being traded by Nashville?
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense at this point. Like you said, it hasn't worked out for him. He had, I would say, actually last year wasn't terrible. I would say, as far as the contract itself, just points wise, I say he lived up to. I wouldn't really say anything more. I don't think he really performed it this year, though. He hasn't really been that active. He's been injured, obviously, a decent bit, and I think at this point it makes sense. It's clearly I think he also made a comment saying how during last offseason he said he said something to the effect of, I didn't come here to not make the playoffs. And again, there was talk even dating back to last offseason about how he would be willing, how it was probably not likely, but he was willing to move his clause for the right place. And and again, just with the lack of speed, which has been noticeable, and other things. And I also, towards the end of last year, where he had the comments about, about not being totally thrilled with how how this Andrew Brunette's adjustments and all that. And between all that, I think you're right. He's the player who makes most sense to move. And I think it'd be good for both sides. You can also, because you also got to remember, the Preds have a few guys. They got Ozzy Weisblatt, who has been on the shelf for a few weeks now with an injury. He'll come back. Zachary LaRue as well. He'll come up at some point.
You got to make room.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, not to throw any shade to Marchessault, but the Preds seem to be doing okay even without him in the lineup, at least right now. Yeah. Again, we all know Marchessault's a great player. In the right situation, he can do some great things for a playoff contending team. I'm not trying to take anything away from Marchessault as the player. He's obviously a great player, but sometimes it's just not the right fit.
Right.
And for me, it seems like both sides probably realize they're not right for each other.
Yep.
I'm not saying that that's the reason why he's not skating today, which is what we said earlier with the Brooks Bratton report. I'm not speculating. I'm not an insider. I'm just a podcaster who is right there with all of you guys reacting to what I see. I want to make that clear. But my speculation is that it's kind of weird to me. And you know how hockey injuries go. Like, they don't really tell you what's going on. When you see day to day, that could be anything. Anyway, but also, like, you're seeing a lot of stuff out there from The Athletic. So we got the tweet on the screen here from Pierre LeBrun via the NHL Rumor Report. And it says Jonathan Marchessault, which age 34, would have to consent via his no movement clause. But I wouldn't be surprised if he would consider the Leafs, where he would get a top 6 role. And we talked about the Eastern Conference earlier, Max, where it is so like up for grabs that that actually helps the trade prospects for the Preds because they can go talk to these Eastern Conference teams like the Leafs who have not had the season they have wanted to have so far, but they're still very much alive and in it. And they're like, that almost makes teams like the Maple Leafs more desperate to get a player like Jonathan Marchessault to boost them up.
I remember, like I said in the offseason when there were rumors about Marchessault potentially waiving his no movement clause to the right place. Two of the things that were said that would really fit for Marchessault were either places that were close to home from which he's from Quebec, so Toronto's close to that area, or a place that where state tax laws are kind sort of like Nashville. So automatically, I think Toronto and Montreal are two places that would make sense for him because that's close to home for him.
Yeah. And then another tweet I'm reading here, also from The Athletic, this from Chris Johnston, also sent today, or this was sent yesterday actually, but Chris Johnston of The Athletic also says Marchessault and the Canadiens. This is a move that would certainly sit well with Marchessault, which is important given the fact he's got that new no move clause. So you're seeing the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs, two blue bloods. So it kind of feels like the writing's on the wall that Marchessault, I would put him probably at the top of the list, is most likely to be traded. What do you think we could get out of him? I know we were talking earlier, Max, before we went live, we were texting back and forth, and you said like salary retention is probably
that's where the discussion starts for me is, what does salary retention look like? It has me discuss, what's his contract? Was it like $5.5 million or something? I forgot. It's somewhere
$5.5 million.
Okay, so it is $5.5 million. So if you go 50% retention, it's $2.75 million for the next 3 years after this one, which isn't horrible. That wouldn't be ideal.
I mean, with the salary cap growing, and if a team's all in to win now, I really don't think that should stop you too much.
I'd like to do a little better than that if we can, but I think that's doable right there. But ultimately, that's where the conversation starts is, what's retention going to look like? Because I certainly don't think anyone's taking on that full contract. So
I'd be very hesitant to retain salary on Marchessault if I'm Trotz, honestly. You're in a playoff race right now, so I don't know if you need to be in the business of retaining salary when you're in a playoff race. If you've got a guy who can win you games and get you into the playoffs, I don't know why you would retain salary to move on from him. Now, if you can trade him straight up, then absolutely go for it, including a host of other players on this team. But I don't feel like the Preds are suddenly in this desperate situation anymore. And maybe that could change. Like you said, Max, we still got a little bit. We still got over two. We're coming up on about basically 2 months from the trade deadline right now as we record this. So a lot can change. As I just said earlier, the Predators are one. I'm not trying to sound doom and gloom and negative here, but the Predators are a 4-game losing streak away from being right back where we started, back to square one. So a lot can change very quickly in this log jam of a wild card race. So my thoughts are right now, I don't think the Predators are quite as desperate that we maybe thought they were going to be in terms of unloading some of these players. I think Trotz can be a lot more meticulous and in how he approaches this is all I'm saying. But I mean, I just feel like with Marchessault, if he can get a change of scenery, there could be one GM who is willing to take that, because $5.5 million is not a lot with a growing salary cap, especially if you're a believer in him. I know he's age 35, so the length of that contract probably scares you a little bit, but the $5.5 million is really not that high for what he could possibly bring you this year and maybe even next year if he's in the right situation.
Yeah, and to kind of what you said earlier is ultimately I would agree with what you said as far as retaining salary doesn't make a ton of sense for a team that's in the playoff spot and could use or is near a playoff spot and could use all hands on deck. But I'm not totally against. Like, I guess how much salary are you retaining is my question.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
If it's like $1 million for the $1 million only per year, that's not terrible to me.
Let's move on to a couple more, way more complicated situations.
Yep.
I don't think Marchessault is really that complicated. If you can trade him, trade him.
Right.
Totally on board with that. But let's start with Stamkos first. I floated this idea of trading him early in the season. And we both agreed that was highly unlikely unless you retained like a lot of salary, probably half the salary at least. And even then you were going to have to beg teams to possibly take him. I always floated the idea out there that there's always one GM that's going to love a future Hall of Famer and think, okay, the Preds are a mess. If he's on my team, he'll be much better. But beautifully enough, it turns out that Stamkos can still do well with the Preds too right now. So I don't know. This one for me is so difficult because I got to take my bias out of this because I've always loved Stamkos from afar when he played for the Lightning. I've always just appreciated great, classy hockey players. And I've always loved Stamkos from afar playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then when I moved down here 3 years ago, I really started watching more Lightning games. Preds are still my number one. They always will be. But I started watching Stamkos more and more with the Lightning when I moved down here. And the guy is just such a pro. He's such a good guy. He plays the game the right way. And what I see him doing with the younger players on the squad right now, even when he was in his slump and he wasn't producing, I was in this guy's corner. I really was. I was upset that he wasn't producing, and I was definitely let down. But I was still in this guy's corner because I know the type of player he is, and I know how he carries himself. And I saw his effect on Matthew Wood, on Fedor Svechnikov. I saw him on the bench giving a crap. The guy cares, and he cares about this franchise. He's only been with this team. He's in his second year with this team. And you can tell how much he cares about this team, how much he cares about winning for this city right now. And I just appreciate that so much. So it would be really hard to trade him like that. But I get it. If they have to trade him, especially for a good return, I get it. But I really appreciate how much he cares about this team and how much he loves Nashville. All reports say he might not even want to waive his no move clause.
That's why
he loves Nashville so much. I'm not saying you don't trade him just because of that, but you've got to get him willing to do it.
Well, ultimately it's his choice. So
it's his choice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If we're going odds of him getting traded, I feel like Trotz is going to keep him.
I think so too. And especially now at the point where we're talking now at the point where you can actually get, if you're trading Stamkos, it's because you're getting something. Back in October when I wrote that article, if you would have traded him, you would have traded him and just been happy if you could just get that contract off the books. Now you're talking, okay, if you want Stamkos, you got to give us something. You got to motivate us to do it.
So, and a lot has changed since then.
Yeah. So the Preds, Barry Trotz absolutely does not need to be out there actively shopping him. If teams are wanting to trade for him, they should be like, okay, well, what do you want to give up to trade for him? That's where Trotz should be now.
Let's read Joel's comment here on Facebook. Thank you, Joel, for this comment here. And it says, don't trade Stamkos or O'Reilly. Both are responsible for helping elevate guys like Evangelista. Totally agree with that, Joel. Preaching my choir there. They can do that for the next round of call-ups. They're worth a lot more than anything they would get back.
I respect that comment a lot. I will say O'Reilly it's a little more complicated O'Reilly, which I'm sure getting ahead of myself here, just because right now you're probably not, his price will probably never be higher again in his career than it is now. But I very much see what Joel is saying there, and it's hard to really disagree with that.
Yeah. I'm going to actually put, first of all, NHL Rumor Report, if you're on X, is a definitely account you should follow because they basically condense all the insiders and what they're saying about stuff like this. And they always credit where the report came from.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely this is where I'm getting all my information from right now. But also from Pierre LeBrun, who's been talking a lot about the Preds and this is pertains to, I'll put it on the screen right now, but this pertains to what we're talking about here with Stamkos. And says right there certainly is no guarantee Stamkos goes anywhere. Stamkos has a full no-move clause and enjoys living in Nashville with his family. So he's not going to jump at just any opportunity. And again, that's from the Athletic, Pierre LeBrun. So kind of what we've always suspected is that Stamkos is a family man. He's won his Stanley Cups. He's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Stamkos doesn't want to win. And I'm not saying that clearly he wants to win. Just watch the guy when you watch a Preds game and watch Steven Stamkos on the bench and tell me that guy doesn't want to win. So that's definitely not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that Stamkos is in a point in his career where I don't think that he wants to just leapfrog from franchise to franchise to chase Stanley Cups. He's been there. He's done that. He's proven it. And I just don't see that type of player in Stamkos. Max has dropped off the feed here. He must have lost some Wi-Fi, so we'll get him back in. But when it comes to Stamkos, it is a very tough call for me right now. I mean, every player has their price. If someone comes to Barry Trotz in the next month or two and just offers him a ridiculous, crazy offer, a great prospect. I'm thinking like prospects here, like talented, elite prospects. Because we know that the Preds want to get younger. That is kind of the key objective for this team right now is they want to get younger. So that would kind of be my asking price to move on from Stamkos. And I know there's other people out there who would disagree and think more draft picks. But for me, if you can offer me a very proven elite prospect that can be part of your long-term, we're going to add Max back in here. Hey, Max. So while you were dropped out, I was kind of expanding on what my price would be to be willing to move on from Stamkos.
Okay.
And for me, you got to give me a proven elite prospect, someone who I know.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to be able to plug this guy in, and I want a forward, preferably a center, but definitely someone who, okay, I'm going to give you Stamkos so you can go pursue your Stanley Cup this year, but you're going to give me someone who's going to help me win a Stanley Cup in 5 years.
No, it's one of those trades where you're like, tough to lose, but we got a pretty good deal in return kind of thing.
I'm not just giving away Stamkos. I'm not doing it.
Not. No, absolutely not.
So that's where I'm at with it. And then when it comes to Ryan O'Reilly, I think it gets even more complicated. I think he's the most complicated out of the three for sure, because it's also been reported that O'Reilly does not want to leave Nashville.
And he has not wavered in that at all. He has been steadfast, and even through last year, seemingly wanting to be here.
He is so loyal to this franchise, and there's something to that. Like when you're a young GM like Trotz, that's another tightrope he has to walk right now. Is you want to build a reputation where you take care of your veterans, and you want to build a reputation where you do right by those veterans. You don't just and O'Reilly doesn't have a no move clause. So you can just trade him. Trotz can just trade him with no say for the player. But it's always been understood that O'Reilly is treated as having a no move clause because he has that kind of stature among the organization. So that's another tough call.
And I think from O'Reilly's perspective, and this is just a hunch on my part, I think part of it for him is like just the power of being wanted. Like now it's not like now there are certain situations in sports where players will request trades and teams will be like, oh no, we're not trading. It just creates so much friction between the two sides. This is not that. I mean, obviously O'Reilly has like no control over this, or is not requesting up, but Barry Trotz has clearly made it very clear, like, we want O'Reilly to be a part of this team. And I think players notice that, and that makes them more willing to stay. And, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, we're going to tighten Simon a bit, but one thing I kind of compare it to is over the past year or two, the Titans obviously been bad. And one of their players, Jeffrey Simmons, people talk about, what are they going to trade on, blah, 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 which good thing they didn't at this point. And if you would have asked me around like last year, I very much think Jeffrey Simmons would have been open to a trade. From the way he was acting, everything, I think he very much would have been. But everyone who's come into the organization, the Titans have fired a lot of people over the years. They made it very clear, including Mike Borgante, the current GM, saying, no, we want to keep Jeffrey Simmons. We want him to be here. And Jeffrey Simmons even said in interviews like, wow, like it is really nice to actually feel wanted here. And I absolutely think that's made a difference on his contentness in this organization, in the Titans. And I think for Ryan O'Reilly, him legitimately being wanted makes a difference for him.
And we tend to forget Ryan O'Reilly chose the Preds in free agency. Like, he wanted to come here to begin with. Again, every player has his price. While you were dropped out, I said the same thing about Stamkos. Every player has their price. And I'm not, if a crazy overpriced offer comes on Trotz's desk, he has to do the right thing for the long-term health of the franchise. But at the same time, he is walking such a tightrope right now, Trotz is. And it would be in a really messed up way if this team was the worst team in the league and they weren't showing any fight. I almost think Trotz's job would be easier right now.
Yeah. But, just get rid of everyone and don't worry about it.
But the team's winning, and so now he has to walk this tightrope.
Let me say again, I did it again this episode. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pat myself on the back a little. One thing I said the whole year, and it's showing now, I said, for as bad as the team was doing, I never, ever questioned the effort, the desire, like just the will to win. No, I never questioned anything from an effort standpoint, no matter how much anyone else did. And you're seeing it now. They're playing hard. They're digging deep. I don't for a second believe that effort motivation was ever an issue with this team.
No, we never accused this team of that at all. We accuse this team of being talent deprived.
Yes, very much so.
Not effort deprived, talent deprived.
Yes.
And I think it's actually even more of a testament of the effort and the grit and the grind that this team possesses, that they're doing what they're doing right now, because the talent depletion is still kind of there, but they're beating teams like Minnesota. They're beating teams like Colorado. It took them overtime to beat Colorado, which no one can beat. It turns out hardly anyone can beat Colorado in regulation this year.
If at all.
But, exactly. So it's like, and now the Preds have another let's see what they do against Vegas tomorrow night. I'm not saying they're beating every good team they play. Like I said, I just mentioned earlier, Carolina got them twice. But no harm, no foul. You lost to Carolina twice. They're a way better team than you are on paper. So understood. But the Predators are like living up to it, and they are playing inspired hockey right now. As corny as that sounds, they are playing very inspired hockey. Yeah. I want to real quick. We got to move rapid fire here. The rest of this episode, we're at almost an hour and a half, but we wanted to give you a good long. We wanted to give you a good long episode because we have been not bringing the episodes to you as often as we would like. So we're giving you a good long episode here. But real quick, rest of the road trip here. So they've already played 3 games on this road trip. Losing to St. Louis, definitely a letdown. But I did say going into that game, when I previewed it, that it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a month.
Not only a month. Not only that, but the Preds literally could not travel to the game till that morning per NHL
And like you
rule.
said, Max, the scheduling matrix is so weird. So the Preds played St. Louis basically 3 times in the span of 2 weeks.
Yeah. And again, they traveled there that morning. That's not easy.
And they beat the first 2 games, they beat St. Louis 7-2, 5-2, and then they lost 3-2
at their place.
So,
and it was a competitive game. So
it was a competitive game.
I didn't think, I mean, they had a few defensive lapses and
coming
stuff,
out of the Christmas break, no less.
I didn't think the effort was there. I thought they did some good things there. I didn't think it was a horrible game.
And going into that game, they were on a 3-game winning streak. They had beat Toronto 5-3. That was the blackout goal game from Luke Evangelista, goal of the year. Then they beat New York Rangers 2-1 at home. They beat Minnesota right before Christmas 3-2. Very thrilling game there. That was a fun game. Mm-hmm. I was actually driving to Tennessee and listening to that game. I was streaming that game on my phone on ESPN Plus. I couldn't watch it because I was driving, but I was still streaming the audio through my Bluetooth, so I was listening to it. And I'm sure a lot of hockey fans can appreciate this. Nothing is more stressful than listening to a hockey game where you can't watch it because the commentators, every time their voice goes up, you think a goal is about to be scored, and especially when you're listening to the national broadcast. So I was listening to the ESPN Plus national broadcast, and I mean, it was the most nerve-wracking thing ever. I'm like driving through Georgia to go home for Christmas to Nashville from Florida, and every time the national broadcaster's voice would go, I was thinking it was a goal, and I can't look at my phone because I'm driving, and I'm just like listening to it. It was the most stressful game I've ever listened to.
I couldn't have done it.
But it was breaking up the time driving, you know. But I was just like so stressed the whole time listening to this game, and the Preds pulled it out for me. It was awesome. But yeah, so they beat Minnesota. They lose to St. Louis. We'll give them a pass, and then they beat Utah last night. So they've won 4 of their last. They've won. Math is so hard sometimes. Yeah, they've won 4 of their last 5. So they got Vegas. I mean, that's another tough test. And then to round out this long 7-game road trip, they still got 3 more games after this game against Vegas. They got Seattle, another wild card bubble opponent. Important game. Then they get Calgary, who they've already beaten twice this year. And then to round out this road trip, they play at Edmonton. They're not back home to Bridgestone Arena until January 8th when they host.
And I'll be at that game.
New York Islanders. So, I mean, going into this road trip, we all kind of felt like this was kind of a tone setter for the rest of the season. Are you legit? Are you for real? And there's still 4 more games left, and you're 3 of a couple more of these games left on this road trip are against wild card bubble teams, where if you beat those teams head to head, then you do yourself a big favor of staying in this wild card race. So, I mean, a lot to figure out here, a lot of opportunities here for the Preds to just keep plugging away and keep proving the doubters wrong. Let's quickly talk about Nick Saban joining the ownership group. And I kind of want to center this discussion around how this affects the long-term outlook of the organization when it comes to Barry Trotz. And I know we can't say like, oh, Nick Saban's going to come in here and just say, I don't like you, Barry Trotz. You're out of here. That's not what we're trying to say. I just mean like a guy like Nick Saban is so used to winning. I don't think he's just getting in on this ownership group to just say, oh, I'm trying to make a quick buck here. No, I think he wants to be part of something here.
No, absolutely.
And so I thought it was interesting that they put him in the press conference. And, the thing of it is, watching the Preds for so long, the ownership of the Predators have always been completely behind the scenes. You never hear from them. It's always been multiple owners. They don't do press conferences. They don't even really talk about what the vision of the team is. They've always been like just out of it. Like just all you hear from is David Poyle and and now Barry Trotz. And I'm not saying it's going to change. It's not typical, really, for hockey owners to be in the limelight and talk about all that stuff. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of interesting. Bill Haslam is a pretty significant name in politics. Not saying that has anything to do with the team, but what I'm saying is I think he does have an interest in making this team competitive. And then to bring in Nick Saban, I mean, clearly some things might be changing in terms of the philosophy of this franchise. So, Max, what do you think about Nick Saban, Roll Tide, joining the Preds ownership?
Well, first of all, I'll never be a Roll Tide fan myself there, but
Me neither.
Either way, but I mean, obviously, I have tremendous respect for Nick Saban, everything he's done throughout his illustrious college football career. I mean, he needs no explanation there. He's been through everything as far as the top of winning and everything. And obviously, like Chad said, no one expects that Nick Saban's going to come in here and really provide. I'm not expecting Nick Saban to provide anything from like a hockey knowledge perspective. At the end of the day, he is still a football guy, and that's what he's going to be.
I need to know real quick. I need to know if before he can pass the test, Nick Saban needs to define what icing is.
Yeah, right.
Then I'll trust him.
That's true. All seriousness, though, obviously we're not going to have Nick Saban at the front and center of the front office calling the shots, all of that. No. But like you said, and like I said earlier episode, Nick Saban knows how to build culture. He knows what winning looks like. He knows what is acceptable, and more importantly, what is not acceptable. And I think with where this Preds team has been the past few years, like a lot of fans complain about just stuck in mediocrity. And Nick Saban's not going to want to be on a team that's stuck in mediocrity. At the very least, again, not that I don't want this is a weird thing to say, not that you're going to put him in charge to make moves, but you could easily see him saying, guys, like, we can't be an organization that stays in this spot and get nowhere. That's just not what he wants to be a part of. And granted, where a guy like Nick Saban may could hurt you a little bit is he's always used to winning. So every move he can think of in his mind is going to be what do you do to win. But at the same time, he'll certainly, as someone in ownership, could very much put pressure on the front office to say, hey, like, do something to get us out of this limbo if we're going to be stuck in mediocrity for so long. I very much see him doing that. And again, bringing that, expectation of winning and not just, just standing idly in the same spot all the time. So as far as, what, just the experience he brings, just culture building and the expectation the expectation he's going to bring to this organization. I like it. You don't just go somewhere with Nick Saban and him not command respect, no matter what it is.
Yeah. I wonder about, as this ownership group continues to evolve, I wonder just how safe Barry Trotz really is. Not saying he's going to go anywhere anytime soon necessarily, but I do think that he is kind of auditioning right now for this ownership group. Even though he is the GOAT of this franchise when it comes to being the original head coach, doing all the amazing things that he's done for hockey in Nashville, he will forever be GOATed. No matter what he does as a GM, you cannot take away from what this man did as head coach of the Nashville Predators to make hockey survive in Nashville. And I've always said that no matter how bad and how poorly he does as a GM, what he did as a head coach will never change for me and what he's meant to this franchise. I can treat them as two separate things. I've always done that when it comes to Barry Trotz. But I do wonder, with that said, I do wonder if he fumbles the bag, especially going through this trade season that we just talked about. Let's say he gets fleeced. Let's say I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying this year, but I don't know. I don't feel completely comfortable that Barry Trotz makes it 2 more years as the GM with this ownership group. I think the ownership group is going to have a close eye on Barry Trotz. And I do want to make sure I preface that by saying You guys should all go listen to the 32 Thoughts podcast. I think the episode was posted on December 22nd. So it has been out for over a week. So some of you probably have already heard it. But if you're not a regular listener of the 32 Thoughts podcast, they did do a really good segment talking about the Preds. And they got into the Saban ownership, what we're talking about now. And Elliot Friedman reported, and I trust Elliot Friedman's reporting like gospel. He said that he's heard that Trotz definitely has he quoted it as saying some runway right now, which is not really a big surprise. But I'm just saying, it's not breaking news necessarily, but I'm just saying, like, I think that it's a wait and see approach right now with Trotz, with this ownership group. But I wouldn't exactly GMs get a lot more time to figure things out compared to head coaches, I feel like. But I would say that I don't think Trotz is as safe as maybe we thought he was. Maybe.
I mean, no offense, Trotz. I hope he's not as safe as people think, because I don't really. I mean, I know that this year is still kind of TBD, but Trotz has not really done anything to earn being safe in this organization. So yeah, I hope the pressure's on him.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot that can happen. I think that Trotz would probably get the benefit of the doubt regardless of what happens the rest of this season. And they're going to give him a chance to go through another draft, bring in the prospects that he's drafted, go through this trade deadline and see what kind of moves he can make to bolster this franchise. And then the ownership group, if they're serious, if this ownership group is serious about bringing in a new era of Preds hockey, they're going to assess everything that Trotz does between now and the beginning of next season, so 2026-27. And then that's when they will really start assessing Trotz's job performance. I think you can't honestly grade Trotz until you see where this franchise is at going into next season. That's kind of how I feel about it. We'll give him a free pass. Not a free pass, but we'll kind of see what happens. Let's see how he maneuvers these trades. Let's see how he manages these assets, which you have said, Max, he has not done a good job of so far. No. So let's see if he can recover. He's got a lot of guys to trade right now, possibly trade. Let's see how he maneuvers. And like I said, Trotz is walking a tightrope, and I do not envy him for being in this position. He's in a very difficult situation because the team's winning. He's kind of like in a damned if you do, damned if you don't position right now. But yeah, I love Saban. I mean, how could you not love Nick Saban joining your ownership group? If I was running a popsicle stand and Nick Saban wanted to join me, I'd be like, yeah, teach me how to make popsicles. Yeah. If I was running a whatever, I'm like, yes, Nick Saban, come join. Like Nick Saban
the guy gives you legitimacy. I'll tell you right now.
Nick Saban involved in anything. Yes, please. Come on. Yes, come join.
Absolutely.
All right. So perfect segue. Episode 285 is going to wrap up with Titans time with Max Greenberg. I got to watch the Tennessee Titans this past week. I've really enjoyed watching Cam Ward evolve, make the trickery throws. And I'm going to let Max go off on his monologue here of the Titans, but I want to make sure I point this out, and Max can hopefully elaborate on this. But I saw somewhere, Max, where and I'm sure you've seen this, where Cam Ward's not getting a fair shake from some of his critics, considering that he has played against so many great defenses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, Max, I would love to hear from you. What's your confidence in Cam Ward? What's your confidence in this team? Do you feel much better about this team right now? I know that they've kind of wrecked their draft position. It's not like the NHL. It's not the lottery. Like NFL is straight up one, like where do you finish in the standings? There's all these weird tiebreaker rules that I've learned more about in the NFL based on like strength of schedule and stuff like that. And so the Titans winning a couple games lately actually messed up their hopes of getting a top overall pick. But do you still feel pretty good about where the Titans are going to be drafting?
Yeah, I'm not, and I'll get into. I would have liked in a perfect world, I would have loved to, be in a spot where the Titans could realistically trade down. But I'm not going to harp on that now, because over the past month or so, the Titans have actually, for the first time in a long time, shown like a pulse, have shown progress on the offensive side of the ball, especially. They look like a team that's competing. Again, they're making progress, and a lot of it can be pointed to one man, like you said, and that's Cam Ward. The guy is progressing exactly the way you'd want to progress. Again, without certainty at the coaching spot, without good receivers, without really much facing some great defenses in that stretch. He's had so many things go wrong with him, yet not only does he look like a professional quarterback, but he's improving. Like, if you look at just his base stats, again, base stats are not everything, but just his base stats, including passer rating, and touchdowns, interceptions, they've been getting better and better and better throughout the season. The second half, there's been a big difference from the start of the season. And ultimately, that's what you want to see. The biggest thing, again, would have loved the higher draft pick, would have loved that. But the biggest thing I care about from the Titans, and most people do, is how is Cam Ward developing? And I've loved what I've seen from Cam Ward. Again, we still have to start. Next year will really tell us if he's truly the guy. That's for sure. But Cam Ward has really played well second half of the year. I would say Sunday, I think there was a description that I agree with, a bipolar game where you saw a lot of Cam Ward's best in the year, and you saw some of his worst. Sunday, he had the most turnover-worthy plays he's had in any game. But again, the overall theme is you're seeing a professional quarterback who's making progress throughout the year. And really, that's all I asked for. Just a team a team in a first overall quarterback that's going to show some progress. And if I see that, I really can't complain much. And, especially, we got to get this coaching hire right next, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But right now, with where the Titans are, you look at a 3-13 team, but momentum-wise, I'm pretty content with where the Titans are at the finish of the year.
Yeah, and, watching that game against the Saints, they had a chance to win that game as well. But, the Saints are a very underrated team as well. They have a good defense.
They won 4 in a row, by the way. They won 4 in a row. The Titans kept with them the whole game.
Yep, and, that one throw, that scramble throw that Ward made, I think, to Tajay Spears, where he was
it the one
halfway
where his knee was down where his knee was ultimately down on fourth down?
Yeah, he was halfway falling down, and he threw it to his side, and Tajay Spears caught it and ran down the field.
It's too bad he was down on the play, and he was.
I know.
But it still helped.
But he made some other good throws, too.
Throughout
that game, he made some good throws. He got strip sacked in that game. That's a rookie thing that happens.
And it's not like that was all his fault. The J.C. Latham got smoked on that play, and that's the main reason that happened.
Before you get into your head coaching thing real quick, can we just talk about Jeffrey Simmons? I am so proud that he's part of this team.
I know.
He's I love how you made the comparison earlier.
Yeah.
It's a comparison I didn't see coming, but Ryan O'Reilly, Jeffrey Simmons, they're two equally important players to their franchises in difficult situations. Both of their situations, they're playing for franchises that aren't where they should be. Tough times. But Jeffrey Simmons, man, that guy brings it every freaking game.
Absolutely.
And I love when he does the interviews post-game, when he plays the game, he lets it all out there. He gets overlooked around the league because he plays for the Titans, I feel like. But he is such a monster.
Not so much anymore, man. Not so much anymore, man.
I know, yeah.
People are taking notice.
But, dude, he made a tackle in that game where, I thought I was watching a video game.
Was it the strip sack on that first
drive? Well, that one too, but no, he made another play where he hit sticked a guy. He basically
yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that
he threw the guy down like a rag doll.
The guy at the game I was saying next who said my shoulder hurt watching that.
I was like, what is this guy doing? Like he's throwing down a grown man like he's a rag doll.
That was crazy. And that was 7 yards down the field too. Like a D tackle going that far down the field, making that hit is not normal.
What's his contract? Is he a
now here's the thing. Now this is where it kind of makes a little difference. This is the last year he has of guaranteed money, but you can be assured that he is going to be extended in the offseason.
Good. I love to hear that.
No, like Mike Borgonzi and like everyone on the Titans has made it very clear, like they want him here. Again, not just like I say, not just a player they're keeping against their will. They're saying, no, we want him here through this to see it through.
And what about so now get into your like head coaching stuff here with the Titans.
Yeah.
You got Mike McCoy, interim head coach. He's inspiring the team. I know that, but like
he's not going
to definitely not head coaching.
No. My thought, and I could get into a full-blown list here, but that's going to go on a tangent. But just to kind of show where I am right now, the Titans, they got to find, to me, they got to find somewhere between a guy who can help develop Cam Ward and also find a leader. Like, obviously, like kind of what the Titans did hiring Brian Callahan. I don't want to throw any more shade at Brian Callahan, but it very much seemed the Titans were, with that move, were wanting to find the next Sean McVay. And it clearly didn't work out. Brian Callahan he was in over his head as a guy coaching there. It happened, whatever. But the Titans are clearly going to want to do a little different there. Find a guy who they know much better can coach. And I'll list my top 5 candidates right now. And I will say they're all retread candidates, but these are guys who I think can, I've seen their bodies of work, and I actually think they can get something out of this team, in Cam Ward as well. Number one, and I wrote a whole article about this for Titan Size last week. If you haven't seen it, check it out. My number one option for the Titans, coach-wise, is Cliff Kingsbury, the current offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Guy who has a proven track record developing quarterbacks. A guy who I'm passionate did not get enough credit for what he did in Arizona. He's my number one option for the Titans. I think not a lot of people are talking about him as much as I am, but I'm passionate. I'm on the Cliff Kingsbury train.
You got my attention. I like that one.
Yep. I like Cliff Kingsbury a lot. My second one, I would say Robert Saleh, current defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. And I think unlike Kingsbury, Saleh is a guy where many people realized it was not his fault with the Jets, and he got just kind of screwed over there. Ever since he's left, their team, especially defensively, has been worse. And but
how does he deal with offenses, though? Would he be a good fit with Cam Ward?
He had Zach Wilson pretty much his whole time in New York, and he had a competitive team the whole time. At one point in 2022, he had him at 5-2. Next year, at one point, he had a winning record. This is a guy, and the guy did everything he could with talent. He absolutely got what he could with talent, if not maybe more a little bit. And more than anything, that guy, he is a leader of men. A guy who can come in here, command, put together a culture, all that. I would be very happy if Robert Saleh is the next head coach of the Titans. He's my number 2 option. Number 3, kind of in a similar light to Robert Saleh, kind of being that tough leader of men, also a really good defensive coach. Brian Flores, the current defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. Again, he's a guy who, and there's been some conflicting reports about him, kind of personality-wise, but he's a guy who can get his guys to come in, play hard again, build that culture, even developing quarterbacks, honestly. I think, it's a weird thing. People might disagree with me on this because he was on that team for Tua Tagovailoa's first year, second year, and I think overall, Tua's, peak moments have come under Mike McDaniel, but I don't really think Tua's much better of a player under Mike McDaniel than he was under Brian Flores. I think he's been the same quarterback the whole time, generally, as far as a guy who's decent, but really can't elevate you that much. So I like Brian Flores a lot. I'd like if he were the guy, although he really is not getting much buzz around the Titans organization. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it personally. Next 2 I'm going to mention, and this is probably my next, but the first 3 I mentioned were in my happy tier. Those 3 guys I'm happy with. Next 2 guys I'm going to say not bad, although I wouldn't be totally thrilled. My number 4 option, Matt Nagy, the current offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. This is where people are going to offer me a lot of pushback. I even had a bit of a Twitter debate with Michael Bishop of the Power Hour, who I actually might be appearing on his podcast soon, do a little debate on some coaching candidates. But
Oh, yeah.
I personally don't hate Matt Nagy as much as a lot of people do. He made Mitch Trubisky look like a serviceable quarterback in Chicago.
Mitch Trubisky, I haven't heard of that name in a while.
Right? He 57 to 30 touchdown interception ratio. Again, a decent quarterback, won coach of the year his first year in Chicago. Again, I think a decent amount of people are kind of pointing to him, saying he is not doing a good job with the Chiefs this year. But one podcast I watched, Music City Audible podcast, they made a really good point. How do you give Nagy credit or blame for what he's doing in Kansas City? Because that is the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes show. I don't really think that factors into the conversation too much here. And again, he had a 34-31 record in Chicago. They're good this year, but historically they've been a bad team. They had terrible quarterbacks with Matt Nagy, bad offensive personnel, and he still had him at a overall winning record. 1 year 12-4, next year's 8-8, next year 6-11. So I know he didn't finish strong, but again, terrible quarterbacks. And the last quarterback he had was Justin Fields, who might have been the even worse quarterback of all those guys. So and also one thing too I'll point to with Matt Nagy before I go into my final candidate that I put in my not bad tier. Matt Nagy, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, he has a relationship with Mike Borgonzi, who's the current GM of the Titans from Kansas City. So my thought, and Matt Nagy is one of those guys who's listed like with some of the higher odds to be the Titans' next head coach. I think Borgonzi might know something here. And if that happens, that makes me happy from the standpoint of we know it's Mike Borgonzi making that hire and not Amy Adams, which that's a worry. But if Matt Nagy's hired, that would make me confident that's a Mike Borgonzi hire. So there's that.
Right, there you go. Who's number 5?
My number 5 option is a guy who's a free agent right now, Mike McCarthy, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers. McCarthy, for me, I'm a little more lukewarm on Mike McCarthy. Certainly wouldn't be mad if he was our head coach, but the thing with me with Mike McCarthy is I kind of just pointed out some other, like really like defining aspects of these other guys coaching. Like, for example, Cliff Kingsbury, quarterback development, Robert Saleh, Brian Flores, leaders of men. Matt Nagy still did a good job developing a quarterback and did a respectable job in a bad organization. Mike McCarthy, I don't know that there's that one truly defining aspect of his coaching that really gets me excited. Plus, philosophically, he is kind of in the 2010s with this West Coast offense, which is a little outdated. Now, McCarthy, he's a floor raiser. You'll run a professional organization under him. He can handle multiple responsibilities on game day. And I still am confident with him that he'll get your team to play at their talent level. And there's still a lot of coaches that cannot do that. So from that standpoint alone, I'm fine with Mike McCarthy just having a guy who can come in, stabilize the organization and all of that. But ultimately, I'm just not convinced that he really elevates you that much. So that's why I get a little less excited about McCarthy than the other guys, but I'm still fine with them. So those are my top 5 candidates. I also have a few in my fair enough tier, and I'll list them. I'm not going to go deep dives on them. I have 4 guys in my fair enough tier. They would be Jesse Minter, the current defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers, Chris Shula, the current defensive coordinator of the LA Rams, Jeff Hafley, the current defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, who's also a former head coach at Boston College, and Anthony Weaver, who is the current defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, and ultimately, that's I
love your list.
I'd be okay with.
I really love your top 2.
Yeah,
I mean, if we get one of those 2, I will be extremely happy. But I love your list. I really wish that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have sucked this year, so they would have fired Mike Tomlin, because let me tell you, one of my favorite head coaches is Mike Tomlin.
Dude,
I love the way he
don't totally lose hope on that, because if they lose to Baltimore this coming weekend and they finish season 9-8, miss the playoffs, there's going to be some unhappiness in that organization, that fan base. It's a slim chance. I don't think it happens. I'm saying I think it's a non-0%.
Well, the way I look at the whole Mike Tomlin thing is he's been there for so long.
Yep.
And I feel like if he did leave the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, it would just be like, okay, you're forever a god in Pittsburgh Steelers history, but eventually we all have to move on. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
of course, it's fantasy land to ever think he would even to come here. He would maybe even take a break from coaching. Who knows? But I guess for me personally in fantasy land, I've just always just respected the hell out of Mike Tomlin and just love the way he runs that organization and what he stands for. And it would be really cool to see him in fantasy land run out of the tunnel wearing Titans gear. It would be a really good makeup prize for us losing Mike Vrabel is to eventually get a Mike Tomlin. But I do love your list, Max. I really do. I think that Saleh would be really cool. I think he's probably my favorite out of your list, even though he's not an offensive guy.
I don't care about that. I don't care.
Yeah. But I do like your list a lot. That was a really good list. So we'll see. I mean, I think that if you're a Preds / Titans fan right now, you've been walking through the desert for a couple years. You've been looking for water, and you might see a small little stream up ahead. Yeah, I feel like both franchises are in that moment right now.
Yeah,
where we haven't gotten to that stream quite yet. We're still dying of thirst. We're still going through the desert. But I think both franchises, for different reasons, are giving us a little bit of hope right now, which is great. If you're a diehard, loyal fan of these two teams, like I am, and you are as well, Max, then you stick by these teams through thick and thin. And fun stuff there. Great Titans Time segment there. And real quick, going to throw some shade to all my Vols friends. Sorry, I do it. But great job tonight, guys, in your Super Bowl and the Music City Bowl. You didn't even show up. I thought you owned Nashville, guys. But it's okay because your real Super Bowl is watching Vandy tomorrow in sunny Tampa. And I know all you guys are hoping they lose. That's why it's your Super Bowl. I get it. I understand. You can't cheer for little brother. I totally get it. You couldn't even beat Illinois, though. Like, really, guys?
They had a really disappointing year. Not to talk about
I
that.
know.
They had a really disappointing
year. I'm being a troll right now. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. But, guys, I love you. I love the Vols fans. I love all you guys. We're all Preds fans. We just like different college football teams. Yes, it's totally fine. It's bowl season anyway. Half the players don't even show up to the bowl games anymore.
Right.
I'm just being a troll. I'm sorry, guys.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, it's been a really, really fun episode. Appreciate everyone joining us. It's been episode 285 of Catfish and Ice, the last episode of 2025.
Yeah.
We are going right into 2026.
And we went almost 2 hours tonight.
We did. We had to give you guys a good episode tonight. We owed it to you. We owed it to you guys.
Sure did.
We really did. So we hope you guys, if you stuck with us through the entire episode, start to finish, you deserve something. Hit us up in the comments if you stay through the whole episode. And I'm going to send you a t-shirt. I'll send you something. But anyway, for real, we hope everyone has a happy new year. We definitely hope you had a great Christmas as well. And we are rolling right into 2026 with another episode soon. Until then, hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on X and also on Facebook as well. And until then, take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
Happy New Year. Happy 2026 to everybody.
Yes, sir.